A flock of birds suddenly collided with the engines at an altitude of thousands of meters. With extraordinary skill and nerves of steel, the crew managed to maneuver the Boeing 737 for what seemed like a safe landing, or so they thought. In reality, the plane couldn't touch down smoothly as hoped. It had to perform a risky belly landing amid moments of extreme tension. What exactly happened in that chaotic instant on the flight? This is the story behind the deadliest crash that closed out 2024. At midnight on December 29, 2024, at Suvarnabhumi International Airport in Samut Prakan, Thailand, a Boeing 737 registered HL8088 was being refueled, preparing for its next journey. Scheduled as Jeju Air Flight JJA2216. It was set to depart from Bangkok, Thailand, bound for Muan International Airport in Muan County, South Korea, covering a distance of 3,770 kilometers. This Boeing 737-800, manufactured in 2009, is equipped with two CFM International CFM 56-7B engines, renowned for their fuel efficiency, helping airlines reduce operating costs. It made its maiden flight on August 19, 2009, and was initially operated by the low-cost carrier Ryanair until 2017. Afterwards, the aircraft was transferred to Jeju Air through SMBC Aviation Capital, one of the world's largest aircraft leasing companies. On that day, the flight was operated by a 6-member crew. The captain, who had been with Jeju Air since 2019, had over 6,820 flight hours of experience, while the first officer had more than 1,650 flight hours. In addition, 4 cabin crew members were responsible for attending to passengers on board. On board were a total of 175 passengers, 2 Thai nationals and 173 South Korean citizens. The oldest passenger was born in 1946. While the youngest was an infant born in 2021. Notably, 13 passengers were provincial or local government officials, including both active and retired members. Most of the passengers had just wrapped up a 5-day Christmas vacation in Bangkok, organized by a travel agency. In fact, the company had chartered the entire aircraft exclusively for this trip, turning it into a truly special journey for everyone on board. At exactly 2:28 a.m. ICT, flight JJA2216 lifted off from runway 02R. The Boeing 737 gradually accelerated down the tarmac before soaring into the vast night sky. According to the planned route, the aircraft would head northeast, crossing the South China Sea, then over the Sea of Japan before entering South Korean airspace. Everything went perfectly, a smooth takeoff, a steady climb, exactly as planned. At 8:54 a.m. local time in South Korea, after nearly 4.5 hours in the air, flight JJA2216 began its approach to Muan International Airport. The control tower cleared the aircraft to land on runway 01. Everything seemed to be going smoothly, but it was the calm before the storm. Just 3 minutes later, at 8:57 a.m., air traffic control issued an urgent warning. JJA2216. Be advised, possible bird strike in your area. Proceed with caution. Seconds later, disaster struck. A flock of birds suddenly slammed into the Boeing 737, causing severe damage to its right engine. The aircraft immediately went into distress, forcing the crew to prepare for an emergency landing. Tragically, the bird strike may have also damaged the hydraulic system, preventing the landing gear from deploying. The pilots now faced an impossibly tense situation. Every decision, every second mattered, as they fought to bring the aircraft down safely amid chaos and fear in the skies. At 8:59 a.m., a mayday signal echoed from flight JJA2216, marking a full-blown emergency in the skies. Just 1 minute later, at 9 a.m., after assessing the situation, the pilots decided to gain altitude and circle back, preparing for another approach, this time from the opposite direction. Instead of landing on runway 01 as originally planned, the Boeing 737 would have to make a 180-degree turn to approach runway 19 on the opposite end. Air traffic control at Muan International Airport immediately cleared the maneuver. However, during the second landing attempt, the landing gear still failed to deploy. Realizing the severity of the situation, the captain made a bold, desperate call to attempt a belly landing. It was an extremely dangerous move, one that could end in catastrophe. But at that moment, there was no other choice. At 9:03 a.m., the aircraft finally touched down. Its nose still raised, and within seconds, the Boeing scraped violently against the runway. Sparks burst into a fiery glow, and thick smoke billowed upward, painting a scene of chaos and terror. The captain fought desperately to bring the plane to a stop, pushing the throttles with every ounce of control he had left. But in the haze of panic and confusion, his calculations fell short. The aircraft slid another 250 meters beyond the runway, before slamming into the ILS protection wall and exploding. It all happened in a matter of seconds. Flight 2216's journey ended in a catastrophic inferno, flames consuming the wreckage in moments. At exactly 9:03 a.m., emergency dispatchers were flooded with distress calls. Fire and rescue units immediately declared a Level 3 emergency, the highest state of alert. According to the National Fire Agency, a total of 1,562 responders, including 490 firefighters and 455 police officers, were mobilized to battle the blaze and secure the crash site. By 9:46 a.m., the last of the flames had been extinguished. After 43 harrowing minutes of chaos, 2 crew members were found alive, miraculously sheltered in the tail section of the wreckage. The flight data and cockpit voice recorders were also recovered later that day to support the ongoing investigation. At 1:36 p.m., rescue teams began the search and recovery of victims' remains. A temporary morgue was set up directly at the crash site to handle the bodies retrieved from the debris, while an arrival lounge at the airport was converted into a waiting area for victims' families. On December 30th, at 12:10 p.m., Governor Kim Young-rok announced that 120 bodies had been identified. 159 were matched through fingerprints, and the remaining 20 would require DNA testing. During a press conference at 3 a.m., Lee Jin-chul, head of the Busan Regional Aviation Office, stated that most of the remains were severely damaged, making identification extremely difficult. Only 2 crew members had survived, both rescued from the rear of the aircraft. According to doctors at Asan Medical Center, one of the survivors, a male crew member, suffered injuries to his left shoulder and head, and currently has no memory of what happened. The other survivor, a 25-year-old female flight attendant named Ku, escaped with minor injuries. She recalled that smoke began pouring from one of the plane's engines, followed shortly after by an explosion. But thankfully, her life was never in danger. Investigations into the cause of the crash revealed that, at the time JJ82216 went down, a construction project was shortening the runway at Muan Airport, reducing it from 2,800 meters to 2,500 meters. However, officials quickly dismissed the possibility that the shorter runway was a direct cause of the disaster. Local witnesses described the terrifying scene. They saw flames and sparks shooting from the plane's right wing, accompanied by explosions and the sound of metal scraping, just before the aircraft made contact. Some also reported that a flock of birds was sucked into the right engine, causing a fire mid-air. The official report noted that the Muan control tower issued a bird strike warning moments before the disaster. A South Korean Ministry of Transportation official stated that the pilots had reported engine damage prior to declaring an emergency. This led to the initial hypothesis: the bird strike may have damaged the engine powering the landing gear, forcing the aircraft into a belly landing. However, This likely wasn't the only factor. A bird strike is usually considered a survivable incident. Commercial aircraft, especially the Boeing 737, are equipped with backup systems. Even if the hydraulic system fails, the landing gear can still deploy via a gravity-based backup mechanism. Additionally, flaps and spoilers can help increase drag, reduce speed, and control the descent. Theoretically, they should still function even if the main system is compromised. What was unusual in this accident was that all three landing gears failed to deploy. Moreover, images from the crash site showed that only one engine used reverse thrust. The flaps were not extended, and the plane moved along the runway at a higher than normal speed. These factors made the belly landing far more perilous than usual. Another critical detail, considered a key factor in the explosion, was the presence of a concrete barrier near the end of the runway. Originally built to support navigational equipment, it stood 250 meters from the runway's end and 4 meters high. Raising the ground to align the equipment with the runway inadvertently created a deadly hazard. Had the equipment been on flatter ground, the plane could have simply slid over and come to a safe stop. Additionally, Muan Airport has the highest bird strike rate among South Korea's 14 airports. At 0.09%. Since 2019, 10 bird strike incidents had been recorded there. Regulations require at least 4 staff members to deter birds when a single runway is operational for less than 9 hours. But at the time of the disaster, only 1 staff member was on duty. All these factors combined created a chain of events that ultimately led to the horrific catastrophe of JJ2216. A question that many have asked is, why didn't the captain choose to land in the sea or a river when the aircraft ran into trouble? In order to avoid collisions with infrastructure or the risk of an explosion? Immediately, memories flash back to 2009, when Captain Sully successfully performed an emergency landing of a U.S. Airways plane on the Hudson River after a bird strike. But in the case of JJ2216, landing at the nearest airport, Muan International Airport, was by far the safer choice. The airport could provide rapid medical rescue and essential emergency support. Landing in the sea would not guarantee quick rescue, and it carried additional risks due to strong waves, winds, and lack of clear navigational landmarks. In training, crews are always taught to prioritize landing at the nearest airport, with the sea being a last resort when no other options remain. After the tragedy, several warning posts from former Jeju Air employees quickly resurfaced online. One anonymous staff member had warned in February 2024, "Don't fly Jeju Air. Engines constantly fail, and you never know when a plane will have a problem. Maintenance and financial operations are both chaotic." Another commented, "Many employees have moved to other airlines because Jeju Air cut maintenance costs. Within a year, engines failed 4 times, a rare and serious issue in aviation history." A maintenance technician spoke out about harsh working conditions. "We work on the most dangerous aircraft, with shifts lasting 13 to 14 hours. Only 20 minutes for a meal break. The workload is far heavier than other airlines." Less than a day after JJ2216 crashed, in the early hours of December 30th, another Jeju Air Boeing 737 experienced a landing gear malfunction immediately after takeoff. The crew had to inform 161 passengers about the mechanical issue and decided to return the plane to the departure airport. It can be said that after the Sewol ferry disaster in 2014 and the Itaewon crowd crush in 2022, JJ2216 became another heartbreaking tragedy for South Korea. The government declared Muan a special disaster zone and announced a 1-week national mourning period to honor the victims. On South Korean social media, the last messages believed to be sent by passengers to their families are still circulating, leaving readers deeply moved. "Mom, they told me to call home. The plane hit birds and can't land anymore. You didn't answer, so I'm leaving a message here. I love you very much." The JJ82216 accident is not only a human and aviation tragedy but also a stark reminder of how fragile safety in the skies truly is. It honors the courage and resilience of the flight crew while warning of the hidden dangers in the aviation industry, where every single moment can mean the difference between life and death.